Hi and welcome to this video. So today we have a very important issue to face, and I went to a job, and this isn't the first time, it's happened a few other times, but I've wrote a letter to the Master Locksmiths Association, and I've tried the Security Industry Registry, and basically people are picking locks and breaking into people's houses. So I've now gone to another one of these jobs. I couldn't film it where I was just because there's a bit of a touchy situation or touchy place, but what I've done is I've made another video about what I do to actually secure the locks. So you basically need to get your locks changed and install security pins. So here's a video and I'll show you what I'm doing to prevent this from happening. Hi and welcome to this video from 10 Locksmiths. So today we're going to put security pins in these locks here, and that's going to prevent somebody from picking the lock and opening the lock. So let's get into it. Okay, so we just went to a customer's place and he had a break and enter about a year ago, and we replaced the deadlocks and rekeyed the locks and all that. So I've just been to this customer's place and he's gone to go and put his key in the lock, and he can't get the key in because the barrel was actually half turned. And what's happened is that the people who broke into his place didn't get in this particular room. It was a garage that was converted into like a kind of bedroom thing, and they couldn't get into it. So they've come back a year later, and this time instead of kicking the door in, they've actually picked the lock. Now this is starting to become a little bit more of an occurrence because you know, the internet's there and people buy lock picks off the internet. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you why you need security pins. So it makes it very difficult to pick, and most locksmiths will be able to pick security pins, but people that just buy lock picks off the internet are really going to find this extremely difficult to actually get past. It's not impossible. There are some variables about how this actually works, but to give you an idea and a look, that is your normal pin that comes out of the lock. Now these ones here, there's all different types and sizes. So this is another one. This is actually a security pin where you can, if I put the two together, you can see there is a difference in the pins. Now that difference there makes it extremely hard to pick a lock. And here's another one. So there's another one. These are called mushroom pins, security pins. There are different other types of pins like serrated pins. I might just grab, and there's also different sizes and different types. Now just having one, here's another one. So just having one of these in your lock will make it extremely difficult to pick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load this up, and I've got my screen door cylinder here, and I'm also going to put a couple of security pins in there. Now, so I'll just cut into this video and just show you. So this is what is inside of all lock cylinders. You know, basically the same principle applies, doesn't matter. You've got a spring at the top, and you've got a driver or a top pin, and then you've got another pin. And if you go along to the second pin here, you'll see that this is one of the security pins. So here's a picture of some more security pins. So looking at this diagram here, what the security pin actually does is it creates a what's called a false shear line, and it will basically jam up the barrel or the plug from actually turning. So it makes it very difficult to pick the locks, and this is these three examples are exactly three different types of security pins. There's hundreds of different types, and this really makes it difficult to pick. So that's the reason why you need this. The tools that are available on the internet are not available to actually pick these kind of locks, and you actually need a lot of skill about you to pick the lock. So that's basically what's happening if you're wondering what's going on, and we'll continue with the video. Because the cylinder is only accessible from one side, and the other side is going to be the inside of the barrel, I don't need to put security pins on the inside of my door. I only need to put security pins on the outside of my lock. It's like having a deadbolt or a deadlock where you can put the key in from both sides of the door, but why would you have security pins in the inside of your door? So just getting back to where I've just come from. So the lock was picked, and it was picked in the way that you would lock the door. And what happens is that when you can't pick a lock properly and you don't have experience, what happens is, here's a barrel and here's the pins. So the keys go up and down. These pins, some of the pins are actually smaller. And what happens when you pick the lock, I'll just try and film and do with one hand at the same time, is the top pin sits in the barrel. If I can get it in there, for example, like that. And what happens is when you pick the lock, because the person didn't know what they were doing, these little springs here, they actually get squashed and pulled over. So let me just grab another spring. This one will do. So what happens is that the spring, if you don't pick the lock properly, the top pin will also go into the plug, and the spring will stretch. So let me just pause the video and stretch this spring. Oh, just give me a sec. Oh, I can do it there. So basically there's our spring. The spring gets stretched like that. It's thin, I actually just broke it. And what happens is it gets wrapped around the barrel like that. And what happens is the tolerance between this surface and the actual barrel itself, the spring has enough thinness to actually slide along here. So when you pick the lock, you'll put the key in. Well, in this case, he couldn't put the key in. And what would happen is that the spring will get caught around there, and then the lock will jam. So when you look at the barrel, it will be half turned, and you won't be able to slide the key all the way in, and you won't be able to turn the barrel either way. It will turn a little bit, but won't turn. So just getting back to the security pin issue, what I'm talking about in the video where the spring's actually gone past and is in the shear line, that does happen. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. In this particular deadlock, the guy had picked the lock, or person had picked the lock, and the spring had actually gone below and actually twisted. So that's what you're seeing in the video. And also when he picked it in the lock position. So you turn it to the left to unlock, you turn it to the right to lock. So the guy clearly didn't know what he was doing, and he's actually picked the lock in the way that you would actually lock it. So then he would have to go back to the start position and pick it leftways on this particular job, in this particular instance, where he couldn't actually turn it back because he didn't know what he was doing, and also the spring had jammed open in the lock. So that's one thing that can happen, but this is all about security pins, this video. And if you look at these pictures, you can see that the plug is actually moved a little bit and the security pin has done its job. So I'll just throw that in there. So this is really, really important that people become aware and ask your locksmith to give you security pins. If you just say security pins to a locksmith, he'll probably look at you a little bit strange. But you know, if you said something like, "Can you put some security mushroom pins in?" he's going to turn around straight away and go, "Oh, I know what you're talking about." So this makes it very difficult to pick the lock. The more you have in there, the more difficult it is. The other thing is that your key combination is also important as well. But just putting some top pins in. So now with you know, like I have been to a couple of jobs where, you know, it's suspected that it's been picked open, and one, I don't know, probably about 8 years ago, it was a bit dodgy, and I thought, oh, yep, definitely, and then the customer, yep, was definitely picked open. So now, with my change combos, a 10 locksmiths is going to put at least a minimum of 1 or 2 security pins in every change combo that we do now. We're up in Brisbane, and if this has happened once, and I'm just one locksmith up in Brisbane, I guarantee the other 20 companies that there are in Brisbane with multiple tradesmen in each company have experienced the same issue as well. So from now on, security pins are going to go in everybody's change combo. I'll have to add a little bit more to it, but it's going to make it extremely difficult. Like if I have to pick one of these cylinders that have got security pins in it, I may be able to pick it, I may not, but I might have to drill the barrel. But it's a good reassurance to know that if a locksmith, I've been a locksmith for 25 years, is having problems picking a lock, it's good security. So from now on, that's what we're going to do. So here I am. I'm now going to put these pins in my door. So no more possibility of this ever happening to me. Okay, cheers. Thanks for watching. And just one more thing before I go. If there is anybody out there, I'm going to make this video so you can leave some comments. I have my brother's also a locksmith. We have called the Master Locksmiths Association, told them about this issue. But look, if there's anybody out there that knows how to actually get the law changed, so having picking tools or implements now becomes illegal, because right at the moment it's not illegal to have them, it's what you do with them that makes it illegal. But right now the general public can go and buy picks off the internet and they will come. I've actually done this off eBay. I bought a pick gun, no company name, no nothing, came to my door, no questions asked. I didn't really want to say that, but if there's somebody out there, apart from writing a letter to the Prime Minister and getting him to change the law, please tell me how to do it, because this is not in anybody's interest and it's absolutely ridiculous that, this can happen. All right, cheers.